am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, and Dave Dreher and I will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. With me this week is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Got back from the trip yesterday.
That's right. You traveled 2,000 miles.
I actually traveled about 2,400 miles.
2,400 miles.
By the time I sought the elusive Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, the Sasquatch himself, the one and only Dave Dreher, yes. You have answered the question. Is he real? Or is he...
Memorex? Oh.
Memorex?
I don't know. Could have been a doppelganger.
A doppelganger was a reflection. All right, well, we'll get to that here in a little bit. Also joining us this week is Crystal Cleveland, the living dead girl. Hey, Crystal.
Hey, guys. I'm glad to be here. And, hey, Creepshow came out today, so even better. Yay.
That's right.
Cool.
Yes. And that was a day early. It somehow...
Oh,
not a day early, but it wasn't supposed to drop until midnight.
Time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think all four of us jumped on that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of number 4, rounding out the crew is H&R co-host Dave Dreher. Dave, how you doing?
Hello. I'm good. How's everyone? Everyone sounds good. Glad you made it home safe, Jeff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Dave Dreher is the one and only Sasquatch of Ohio, and our very own Jeff Mohr, who is traveled 2,400 miles to head to the Wreak Havoc Horror Film Festival in North Carolina and back home to Iowa. Stopped by to say hello to Dave Dreher. So, Dave, what did you think of Jeff Mohr?
Ooh.
Well, he's a damn good kisser. That's all I'm going to say.
You're talking to my wife. Right?
No, it was great meeting him and his wife. We had a very nice afternoon. We met for dinner and talked the whole time away. Couldn't get an order in because we were too busy talking. And it was nice. It was really nice. He wins. He's the first one in this whole horror news radio Gruesome magazine thing. He's the one and only to have made the trip up and say hi. So congrats, Mr. Mohr.
Well worth the time. It was great meeting you and your wife.
Yeah, it really was a good time.
And
our wives really hit it off. It turns out they have
an
affinity towards a TV program that they're both.
Is it Outlander? Is it Outlander?
Yes, it is
Outlander.
Yes.
Yes, you got that one right.
Mm-hmm.
So they were thick as thieves once that came out. So.
Yeah. And Dave, you finally found somebody taller than you, right?
Yes. Jeff, he may want to call me the Sasquatch, but I am Littlefoot to his Bigfoot, I'm afraid. So
I have small feet, but that doesn't mean anything.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching it. But look for a report on the Wreak Havoc Horror Film Festival or Horror News Radio, and I think it's going to be one of the first episodes that's going to be deemed under the title of Gruesome on the Road.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. But this is Gruesome Magazine. We do 2 films every episode, a pair of films, if you will. They're streaming, they're video on demand. They might be at film festivals or whatnot. Tonight we are doing Tigers Are Not Afraid, which finally landed on Shudder. We've been hearing a lot about this for the past year or so, and now we've finally seen it, so we are here to review it. And then we're reviewing Villains, also, which opened Friday, September 20th in theaters and is heading to streaming services near you shortly. I'm not certain. Is that going to be on Shudder? I can't remember if that was a Shudder one or not, but regardless, it's definitely one we want to talk about. So let's dive into them, shall we?
Okay.
Diving away. Here we go. First up is Tigers Are Not Afraid. This is from director Issa Lopez. The cast includes I'm going to try names and I can't even say the word includes, so this is going to be good. Paola Laura, Wanda Romo Lopez, and Hansel Casillas. It is a dark fairy tale about a gang of 5 children trying to survive the horrific violence of the cartels and the ghosts created every day by the drug war. And it is, like I said, currently available on Shudder. So let's find out what our first impressions of Tigers Are Not Afraid may be. Jeff, start us off.
I may be a Lone Ranger on this one. I don't know. I'll be interested to hear I already know what Dave thinks.
we had this conversation.
Well, I know what Doc and Crystal have to say, but it's an interesting concept, and I'm going to assume that there are areas like this. It opens with a graphic that says that since 2006, I think 160,000 dead and 53,000 have disappeared because of the cartels.
Yeah.
And violence, and that entire sections of some cities have turned into ghost towns. And then the last line is, there are no numbers for the children the dead and missing have left behind. So the setting is basically one of these, quote unquote ghost towns. It's in sort of an urban rubble almost, or abandoned areas.
Like a barrio.
Yeah. And there's nobody there except a couple gangs of these kids and the nasty folks, the Huascas, which is a gang that tends to take all the women. So we have these kids, most of whose mothers have been abducted or killed by this gang. And it kind of follows what they're doing. And I'd heard a lot of really positive buzz about this, and it seemed like a movie I would like. But the first time I saw it, I didn't really go, wow. But it was one of those things that worked on me over time. And I just kept thinking about the situation kept coming back to me, and these kids that are in the film, and the world that they're growing up in, and what they have to deal with. So I watched it again, and then I think that the kind of the full impact of the setting and the characters' circumstances really hit me a lot harder. I think sometimes we get used to the gore and graphic violence and menace of modern horror movies, and then we get kind of bored when it's missing or delivered at somewhat of a lower level. There is some graphic violence, but the horror in this movie is the situation these kids are in, and what has happened to their mothers, not very much of which is on scene. There's also a supernatural element that plays a big part in it. I like this a lot. I don't think there's any punches pulled. The children are living homeless. And there are children killed in this film. We were just talking about another film where a baby is killed. There are children killed in this film, and very graphically and very abruptly. But at the same time, it's populated by the ghosts of these victims, and there's sort of a magical or mystical quality or elements to this. For example, the lead character, Estrella, has been granted 3 wishes, but they seem to be hamstrung by kind of a monkey's paw situation, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So she's afraid to do the last wish, and she finally does. They come true, but not necessarily with the outcome she was hoping for. So I enjoyed this a lot. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It doesn't really fit into any category or basic genre, I think. So I think there I'll stop. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, a lot of the horror is very modern society horror.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off with the kids having to duck and cover because the cartel's in the school firing
right.
off. And then that sends everybody home and closes the school for a short period of time, which starts our story. And during that time is when the teacher gives her the 3 pieces of chalk, and each piece of chalk is a wish. And when she does wish for things, that's when the supernatural starts coming in, and the cast is phenomenal. But before I ramble on too much, let's find out what the rest of the crew think. Crystal, you're up next. What was your first impression of Tigers Are Not Afraid?
Well, it's really fucking sad. Okay. It's so sad to me. I grew up in Corpus Christi. I know a lot of people won't know that. And I grew up where we had the ability to cross the border right there and go over there when I was very, very, very young, and it was very safe. And unfortunately now it's a completely different world. It is really a sad place that really the drug cartels have taken over. And even the politicians are getting murdered. If they're not bending to the will of the cartel, then they get murdered. It's really, really sad. It's the women get raped or murdered. I mean, as the case may be. And it's just, I think a lot of it hit home for me in one regard, because I was like, God, this is, those poor kids. I mean, I think the movie was shot well. I kind of wished for a few more tripod shots. There were a few handheld shots that were a little too shaky for me, but I mean, it was okay. The settings, they had this one mansion that the kids find, and I thought it was really cool. I think the characters were well developed. I mean, honestly, I like this movie. It's just something I wouldn't normally want to watch, I guess, is what I'm saying. I think I really like horror for the aspect of taking me out of reality for the most part. And I think it was a little too real for me, honestly. But it's a good story, and the children are phenomenal. Obviously, they're carrying the movie. It's just a bunch of kids and their interactions. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I did like it. I just, this wouldn't be something that, I'm going to go watch a horror movie. I'm going to go watch Tigers Are Not Afraid. I say if you like, if you like slashers and stuff like that, I'd say probably avoid this one for that regard. But it's a great movie. It's a great, sad, unfortunately close to realistic with supernatural elements. But yeah, I mean, even I think there were some cool special effects in it. It's kind of some cool little parts and things throughout, and I think it was well written. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I would say that the kids acted well beyond their years.
Oh yeah, like it was just them. They had the whole movie. It's amazing, really. It
was pretty astonishing, I thought. And they do carry it. But again, before I ramble on, let's find out what Dave Dreher thinks. Dave, what is your first impression of Tigers Are Not Afraid?
All right.
Everybody take a second.
I've never lived on the border. I don't know jack shit about cartels, but I know this movie sucks.
No! Boom!
I actually watched it twice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, cause the first time I thought maybe I'm just being grumpy. I kind of watched it late in the day. And so I watched it a second time just today, actually, so I could speak with some type. Because the first time I was like, nope, fuck this. Click, gone. So I thought so I could at least speak with a little bit of intelligence on this film. So I watched it all the way through. And yeah, it's again, there's some visual stuff there that's kind of cool. I mean, to even call it a horror movie is kind of rough for me. There are some supernatural undertones at times, but basically it's a drama about these poor orphan kids, and it is sad, and it's well acted, and it's well directed. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a horror movie. So many times on these horror sites and stuff, people start carrying on about this shit. This ain't a horror movie. Horrific things happen in it, but it's not a horror movie. Other than a bloodline that follows these fucking kids everywhere they go, there's really not much there. Other than those few supernatural moments, but there certainly wasn't enough for me. Yeah, I know. It just wasn't for me. I have a hard time calling this one a horror film. If somebody had just told me it was a drama with some supernatural overtones, maybe I would have been a little more on board with it. But I sat down to watch a horror movie, and I got a drama about orphans. Although I liked the reclining chair the kid made out of old tires. That was pretty good. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but that was pretty cool. I'm like, damn, I need myself one of those. Old tires laying around. I'm going to make myself one. I'm sure the artsy-fartsy crowd will be like, oh, no, beautifully shot and blah, 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 blah. It may well be. I'll be watching Creepshow. You guys can go watch this shit.
Maybe that's really exactly.
You can watch both.
I there's something to agree with there, and that's what I was saying. Like, if I were going to watch a horror movie, this wouldn't be the one. But maybe that's really what it is. It's not really quite a horror movie.
Yeah, it's not a horror movie in conventional definition. Now, we tend to, as a genre, really stretch our boundaries. We like to include as many films as possible in our genre. So because horror can overlap. You can have a horror comedy, you can have horror sci-fi, you can have horror drama like this. That you can have horror mixed with just about anything, historical horror, right? So maybe it's overzealous of us as a community, but we do like to
Yeah, well, I mean, it's on an all horror streaming service, for God's sake. They're definitely trying to sell this as horror. I thought it was kind of dark, not in tone, but just like it was really kind of hard to see a lot of it, at least for me.
I didn't see it as dark, but it is a lot of night scenes, so I could see where you might, if you're not getting a real good connection to your streaming, that it would probably pixelate and lose definition. But as far as the horror elements, there is a rather strong supernatural element, especially during the third act, and it's in there with our lead character, at least in her mindset throughout the film. And it's kind of, I mean, it's a very interesting film.
If you're trying this hard to explain it, that's enough.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, if you got to say too much about it to make it a horror film, then maybe not. But for me, I'm fine with it because Monkey's Paw is typically or tends to be used as a horror tale, a morality tale, if you will, and this one is like that in a way. For me, the horror of it is so situational, so societal, so demographic. It's how it's the horror that these kids live in, and what it's done to them, to the point where our lead character sees ghosts, right? But the ghosts actually, in our finale, spoilers, actually take action. So that's interesting. That happens, right? We don't necessarily get to see all of it, but we do get to see straight up ghost in the story. So I'm not having a trouble with it being on Shudder. I think it belongs. I like this movie a lot. Now, the reason why I liked it, I think, was these kids. Man, I understood what these kids felt for some reason. I even though they were children, what they were dealing with are very adult themes. Regardless, and they were so good. They were so good, and I did like when they found that abandoned hotel because they found everything.
Oh, was that a hotel?
Yeah,
they found. I thought it was a mansion.
I thought it was a mansion too.
Well, it may have been a mansion. They found everything they wanted. They, even the soccer field.
Well, they were talking about it at some point, right? Because the kid gets pissed off because he's like, no place exists with swimming pools and chandeliers and all that stuff, and then they find
everything. And I loved what how the fish tank had collapsed and fell into a like this divot.
Oh,
and
yeah,
created like a huge pond in the middle of the room. So the visuals in here were striking. The cinematography is strong. The acting's great. The direction's great. But yeah, if you're on the fence about it being a horror film and that's the deciding factor, yep. I can see that swaying you.
Fair enough.
Fair, yeah. I really empathized with Estrella because she's the only girl too. I mean, I don't know. I'm happy with the way that it turned out. I mean, I think that the conclusion of it is all well and good, but is it all well and good? It doesn't change anything. I guess that's what I just hate that real sadness. Oh God,
yeah,
that real sadness. Because I mean, what's next? What's next? I mean, I'm not giving. I won't say anything about how it ended up. But what's next? Where do you go from there? Oh God.
Yeah, it doesn't. Even though it resolves the conflict of the immediate conflict of the story. It doesn't necessarily leave our characters in a better position.
Yeah, it doesn't change their circumstances.
Yeah,
so
as far as the conflict that they're in, with this particular cartel, that's said and done, but their lives are not different. So they're still orphans. They're still abandoned in this strange town, and yeah.
We need to form a cartel. Let's make a cartel.
No, we don't want to be a cartel. No,
a horror cartel. We'll drive around and threaten other horror sites.
All right, let's talk offline. You might have it. All right, Jeff Mohr, let's wrap this thing up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene. So, Jeff, start us off.
Well, I missed everything you guys said once Doc started talking because my internet went off.
Yeah, sure. You just don't like to listen.
You're like, oh, shit.
Regardless of anything you guys said, I like this. I enjoyed it. I did like where it went. It did go to a certain place. Yeah, a couple people died. Did their situation change? Yeah. So don't expect a fact pace. Don't expect traditional horror. I do think it's a horror movie. And frankly, it fits kind of into my sweet spot. So I guess I'm one of the artsy-fartsy crowd.
Yes, you are.
Filled with foreboding, and there's a bunch of what the hell moments, I thought. And the most horrifying of it was kind of real-life situations. This might be in my top 10 list at the end of the year. I don't know.
Wow.
Nice.
So I'm giving this a 4.5.
Wow.
And my favorite scene is when Estrella does something for the group, and Shine is kind of the leader. And he goes off. You think he's mad at her for doing it, but he's really mad at himself. And he goes off and is crying. And it shows a lot of where he's coming from and the weight that's put onto these kids in these situations trying to survive without any resources, really. They have to make their own way. So anyway, I like it. I liked it. It's a Joseph Perry movie, and I like Joseph
Oh, my
Perry.
God. It is a Joseph Perry movie. All right. Yeah, you have to listen to the classic era to find out what that means. Crystal Cleveland, what is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene for Tigers Are Not Afraid?
So, wow, kind of blown away by Jeff there. Like I said, the movie it's good. It's just not for me, unfortunately. It's like I said, it just hits a little too close to home. If you like those really sad, sappy movies, then good for you, and that's great. I totally get it. I wish I was maybe a little bit more like that, but I am giving it a 2.75. Yeah, I feel sorry, Jeff.
Oh, that's fine.
There's quite a few scenes actually that I liked here that were kind of fun and kind of cool, but I guess one of the most telling for me was the kids go to the cops for help, and they show the cops some evidence that they have, and when the cops realize who it is that's in the video, they go, "Oh, fuck that shit," and drive off. And that's basically the movie. That's pretty there. It's just the sadness of these kids all alone with no help. Yep. Oh, nice and sad.
That was a telling scene. And
yeah.
And our guy, Shine, he knew it, man. He was trying to tell him. He already knew. All right, Dave Dreher, sir, what is your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene? Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Yeah, definitely not in my, as much as it's in Jeff's, it is completely out of my wheelhouse. So I'm giving this thing a 2 because it is respectfully made, and the young actors do a fine job.
2.
Yeah, but I'm going to give it a 2. That's it.
Well, he did start off saying, "It sucks."
but again, a lot of times that can be...
It's okay, Dave. It's okay, Dave. You won't hurt my feelings.
It can be misleading because it is well shot, and there's some nice looking things in here. It just again, just not my type of horror, I guess. The favorite scene, again, it's a visual thing, but it's that one scene where the lead girl is, I don't know if it's a nightmare or what she's having, but she's having one of those visions, and all those bodies are lined up like up and down the steps, and they're down the hallway, and they're in the body bags and different types of different stages of mutilation and decay. And that was just a very striking image that I liked quite a bit. It stuck with me. So I'll go with that as a favorite scene. And do I have to think? I don't have to say anything else about this, do I? Oh,
nope,
we didn't talk about the little animated tiger at all, by the way. The little, when Tigger comes to life.
Oh, yeah,
I think that was so cute. The little tigers.
Oh, yeah, not the drawing, but the stuffed animal, right?
Yeah, the stuffed animal.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys talked about it or not, but there is kind of this recurring, Tigers Are Not Afraid, as they were kind of identifying themselves with tigers to try to buck up, I think.
Right, yeah. I definitely got that same thing.
Right. They were these kids had balls, I'll tell you. I like this film.
These kids had balls.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't say that. That would be misquoted.
and that's when the FBI raided H&R.
Oh yeah. Where's Doc? In a cold cell. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Is it my definition of horror? What I want out of a horror film? No, I like monster movies. I like a creature. I like a monster. I like it more fantastical than really down in the dirt. But this one is in the way that this is made. It really spoke to me. I identify with the kids and their fight to survive and what they had to go through and what was happening to them and what they were trying to achieve. The conflicts that the film addressed worked, and in the supernatural elements on the fringe made it, to me, in many ways it's a ghost story. In many ways it's a ghost revenge story. Not in the typical way though. It's not, it's not on his sleeve. It's very, it's buried into the themes and into our heroine, Estrella.
Estrella.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, that's fine. That's fine. But it's very much in her, her, because she's the one that sees all the supernatural elements of it. Although I think she convinces the rest of them.
Was that because of her mother though?
I'm not. I think it's it may have been, but I always thought it was because of the witches. But the witches were probably just a conduit. I'm giving this a 4. I really enjoy this. Yeah.
Wow. Dave, we're lone wolves.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, we have to hold hands and skip off into the sunset or something.
Yeah.
So do lone wolves was plural? Oh, never mind. They're not lone if they're wolves. I can't get off of that.
Are they lone if there's 2 of them?
That's what I'm saying. They're I don't know. I guess they can be if they're the only. I don't know. It's too much.
And through all that pondering, the movie still sucks.
My favorite scene is the third wish because of how
it comes to fruition.
Yeah, and it's such a monkey's paw, right?
Yeah,
in the worst way, and the worst sad, and if these were adults and it was in a thing called Tales from the Crypt, it would happen very similar, except for it would be much more graphic and much more wrapped up in some kind of I don't know. If Fulci did it, it would be really insanely gross. But in here, it's handled in a more realistic sort of way. And then our El Shine character, he is scarred on his face because he got burnt, and it's not a big scar, but he's wary of it, and it weighs on him. And when he starts believing in the wish, it comes to the mind that she should wish the scar away, and she does that at the very end, or toward the end, and it does not end well for anybody involved. Although it does free him, but not in the way I think he would like to have been freed.
I don't know. Maybe in that sort of environment, maybe.
Well, I mean, there's arguments.
Yeah.
you could, but it's kind of it's not an easy one to win one way or the other. So. But anyway, there is our review for Tigers Are Not Afraid. It is available now on Shudder. Our second film is a film called Villains from directors Dan Berk and Robert Olsen. The cast includes Bill Skarsgård, Micah Monroe, Jeffrey Donovan, and Keira Sedgwick. It opened in theaters Friday, September 20th, and should be hitting other video on-demand services soon. It is about a pair of amateur criminals who break into a suburban home. They stumble upon a dark secret that 2 sadistic homeowners will do anything to keep from getting out. I think we're going to end up having the conversation, is this a horror film again? And in some ways, many ways it is, and in many ways it isn't. So let's hand this off to Dave Dreher to give his first impression. What was your first impression of Villains?
I went into this one very blind. I didn't even know what this one was, quite frankly. So I was kind of surprised by what I got here. And you're right, Doc. It would be very difficult to, again, horrific things happen, but it's technically not a horror film. The only difference between this one and Tigers Are Not Afraid is this one doesn't suck.
No!
Wow.
I really enjoyed Bill Skarsgård, and I can never pronounce Mackay. How does she say it? Mackay.
That was Mako.
It's the chick from It Follows. And she was also in that Independence Day Resurgent movie.
Holy cow, you pulled that one out. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. The two of them together are really great. I mean, they got like a real Mickey and Mallory vibe kind of thing going on, like from Natural Born Killers. They're bad, but yet they're really kind of nice, and you kind of root for them because we literally meet them as they're robbing a gas station. I mean, that's how we're introduced to them. And they're just trying they're trying to better their lives. They want to leave everything that's behind them, and as soon as they rob the gas station, they promptly run out of gas. That's kind of the story of their life, I think. And then it takes kind of a dark turn because they find that house and they break in there. And again, I don't know how spoilery we want to get this early on, but there's an odd twist of fate, and things just kind of spiral downwards from there. I really enjoyed this. I liked it a lot, and I found myself rooting for the bad guys, although it's really not clear who is the bad guys after a while. But who we are initially told are the bad guys, I really ended up rooting for Mickey and Jules, if you will. And I just felt it was kind of an all-around satisfying film. I enjoyed it.
I like hearing that. Well, I think we're gonna end up debating whether how can you call this horror film? I want to get into that discussion, but not right yet. All right, Crystal Cleveland, what was your first impression of Villains?
So I can already tell you that I'm going to be the oddball here because it was just honestly, I found it kind of boring. The acting was phenomenal. Kira is quote unquote crazy good in this to me. I mean, it was a movie and a simple concept, and I think as far as its execution, I think it was done well. But I think the story was really boring. It didn't do much for me. I liked everyone in it and I liked their acting, but I didn't like the story. I didn't get into it. I didn't feel much. So it was done well. The cinematography was good. I liked the two main characters as well, Bill and Micah. I mean, they did have a cute relationship, but it definitely wasn't true romance for me. Oh God, I love that movie. But I know and I can see that people would like this. And if it was on TV, I'd watch it, but I would not search it out. Yeah. Although there was one, and I would have to agree about the horror element of it. I mean, this could be I mean, with what is actually happening in the little, quote, I guess I would call it like a house of horrors, if you will. It really wasn't though, but it could have been. It has the makings of a horror movie. I just feel like it didn't deliver that element of horror. I mean, clearly someone is mentally unstable to a large degree, but that doesn't necessarily make for a movie either.
I'm not sure there's anybody in this other than the police officer that wasn't mentally unstable.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. And it had some actually pretty awesome moments. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about those in a minute. But yeah, there were some moments that were really good. But it's just, it wasn't awful. It was okay. It was just okay.
It didn't suck.
It didn't suck. No. I don't think any movie that freaking has Bill Skarsgård and Keira Sedgwick could suck. Like, I just don't know that would be possible. But yeah, that's my first thoughts. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's continue on. This is oh my goodness. Jeff Mohr, sir.
I'm the only one. I'm telling you, I'm the only one.
What was your first impressions of Villains?
Oh, I thought it was fun. What did you call them? Amateur crooks. This amateur with a capital A. They weren't completely stupid, but they didn't do a lot of forethought going into what they did. Once they got in the situation, they sort of sometimes did some good stuff. But I love the cast. I love Bill Skarsgård and Maika Monroe or Miss Monroe. Maybe I should just do that. Ms. Monroe. And I've liked Jeffrey Donovan for as long as I was aware of from Burn Notice with Bruce Campbell, and then some other stuff. He was in another movie we did this year, Wicked, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. He played one of Bundy's lawyers. Anyway, yeah, I like him. And Kara Sedgwick, love her too. And she was great. I think all of them created these really sort of wacky characters, and I think that's what they were going for. I mean, these are the guys that did Don't Kill It.
The Dolph Lundgren movie?
Yeah, the Dolph Lundgren. Yeah,
I love Don't Kill It.
They're the writer-directors for that. They did another one called Body, which was kind of a fun thing. So, I don't know. I just kind of love the wackiness of it, this really stupid, ridiculous convenience store robbery they did at the beginning. And then it's not giving away too much to say they ran out of gas before they got very far away. I'm like, these guys they're not geniuses when it comes to the planning department. I don't know. I'm just going to keep going on. I thought Jeffrey Donovan and Kara Sedgwick as George and Gloria did a great job with those, creating those that offbeat couple, and the little girl, Blake Baumgartner, who plays Sweetie Pie. I'll talk about a weird situation there. I mean, that was pretty weird. Pretty weird. I don't know. I'm just kind of stumbling around, but it was just wacky enough that I enjoyed it. It kept me guessing, and I didn't always see what was coming. So, fun stuff. Is it a horror movie? Yeah, I don't know. There's some couple of pretty good gore shots in there, and then again, horrific situations. I'm pretty broad in my definition of horror, and I don't know. I don't have any problem if somebody wants to call this horror, but it doesn't fit the traditional definition.
Yeah, there's another one that is definitely on the fringe of what a horror film is. The characters themselves lean toward traits that are in characters that do, in horror films. Your serial killer films and stuff like that, they're very much in that. The sadistic homeowners are Jeffrey Donovan and Kara Sedgwick. And there's a point where it could have went full on into that with the girl in the basement and really have gotten dark enough to be a full-fledged horror film, but it tends to kind of back out of that and become a little bit more funny and soften its tone, but for a reason. I mean, that's the film they want to make. I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying that in the process they make it less and less a horror film. But I would not personally balk if this ends up on Shudder, because I think it's enough to be on Shudder, and certainly has the gory scenes toward the end that are well earned. But our characters, yeah, when they you were talking about running out of gas, and I love when Maika's character looks over to Bill Skarsgård and talks about the irony of it, that they just literally robbed a gas station. Didn't run out of gas. It's like, you were there. You were right there. Hey, why didn't you fill it first? I don't know. But anyway, so it has that self-awareness with these characters. I think they kind of know how stupid they are. I mean, because they're not high IQ. Stupid might be a little strong, but they're not high IQ. They do know how to handle themselves in a situation, which is interesting because they don't panic. They're it's really interesting to see how they react to the scenarios they find themselves in, and the way the film's shot amplifies that, especially like when Bill Skarsgård gets hit in the face and it follows him down to the ground. I just love that shot. But there's for me, I really wanted to take a real hard dark turn at one point, and it didn't do that. So as much as I enjoyed the film, it still left me wanting something else. Not more, but something else. So I'm torn on this one, but it's still on the positive side because our cast is so phenomenal. The story itself is a lot of fun.
If they had taken a turn like that, I guarantee you my thoughts on this movie would be completely different.
And they certainly could have, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's like they just wanted to teeter on the precipice of something disturbing. But it nothing was disturbing about this movie. Nothing. Like, was there really any fear? No. Did people die? Yes. But I didn't really have any fear that these people were truly, deplorable. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't full funny, campy type to make it, it's, there's something missing. There's something missing.
Yeah. It needed that full camp, right? Because the poster shows them, their heads mounted on knives, right? And it never reaches even that level of camp, right?
No.
That kind of.
And with this cast, I think, can you imagine? Oh, God. It's like they did do some of that. I mean.
The scene with Kira.
Yeah, oh God.
They definitely went there. And I like the way Bill turned the situation, right? We call him Bill. It actually wasn't Bill. Bill did the acting, but the character's name is Mickey. We should call them by their names, right? Is that like, are we in like reviewer hell now that we are not reviewing? We're calling them by the actor's name, not the character's name. But Dave, I want to ask you, Psycho, Norman Bates.
Yeah.
Horror film?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is. But again, it's another one of those ones. If you really want to delve into it, it's muted horror.
Muted horror. Oh my God!
Muted horror.
Do not trademark that name.
Well, okay, but wait. If we're talking about, we're gonna play along the lines of the Bates Motel? Does that count in it? Because I mean, you do deal with like necrophilia and
right.
I mean,
the TV show when you get. Are you talking about?
Yeah. But I mean, that definitely delved much deeper into the psychosis of the character than Hitchcock ever did. Hitchcock just kind of glazed the surface of it.
He implied it, though.
He implied it. But the series definitely dove in with both feet and splashed around. So
yes, I agree. But see, so like that is much darker than this,
right? And I thought it was going to go there, right? It was, when they get down in the basement, I thought it was going to go there, and it doesn't. Doesn't quite.
I mean, let's be honest. She's even treated pretty well. Okay, like I'm like, yeah. This kid. I mean, it's very confusing because she bites Mickey, right? And so she's kind of along with them and kind of not. I see why he put her in the basement. He explains that as far as like, he did it for, her or whatever instead of, I get it. It just didn't get me. It didn't get me. That's all. Or I didn't get it is really the case, I guess.
Yeah. So you're tapping on where I was going with that line of questioning is, when you start examining the psychology or the psychosis of the killer, when does that become when does it leave thriller territory and enter into horror?
Well, is he a killer though?
Well, I guess we never really know.
Yeah, he's not though. That's the thing. He's a damn pussy. He's a damn pussy because he didn't want to kill her. Okay, because he liked her. Okay, and he only did it at the last, or decided to do it at the last moment because he knew they were going to get got. So it's either do this or get got. So he's not really. See, no.
He's pressured into it.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. Right?
Damn. Oh, me. I don't know where else to take this one. So should we wrap this up?
Well, I mean,
is
Jeff,
there anything?
do you got anything to say, Jeff? Like y'all liked it. I feel like I'm.
Yeah, I this is another one of those ones where I'm not thinking that hard about it. I'm going to have a hard time coming up with a favorite scene because I just liked, every time Gloria or George got one of those big, goofy, wide-eyed grins on their face, I was laughing my ass off just because they were so obviously whack jobs in terms of their, in terms of their thinking. And we find out that a lot of it is driven by Gloria and her quote unquote condition, and George trying to do whatever he can for her, I guess. I don't know. I just liked it. I had forgotten, but Maika Monroe was also in Tao that we did last year, and The Guest.
Yes, she was.
Another not quite a horror movie, but maybe, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, very much similar to this one in that respect. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score, and favorite scene for villains. David Dreher starts off.
I get to wrap it up first.
He's going to steal my scene.
I just enjoyed this. I'm in Jeff's camp on this. And I too, Jeff, going to have a kind of a hard time with a favorite scene because I just kind of like the film overall. Nothing really stands out that really jumps out at you as being overly exceptional. But I enjoyed the characters and I liked the predicament they found themselves in. And I liked the resolution to that predicament. So it was just an enjoyable watch for me. I'm going to give it a 2.75, just a little better than average. Again, it's nothing to write home about. And my favorite scene, I'm going to go with the tongue ring scene.
Oh,
when they're handcuffed in the basement, and he has to yank the tongue ring out so he can use it to pick the lock. And I thought that was pretty cool.
That's smart.
And then, of course, the guy ran downstairs, comes down right as they're doing it. And, he's got the tongue ring in his mouth and she's trying not to bleed everywhere. And, again, it's just kind of more stupidity, goofiness that happens in this movie constantly. But I like that. I enjoyed that scene. All
right. Fair enough. Crystal Cleveland, what is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene for villains?
Well, it was okay. Like I said, just kind of missing something, fell a little flat for me. The acting was good though. It's just the story, kind of lacking some. I'm actually not too far off though with my score from Dave. I'm going to give it a 2.5. And obviously, I don't know if I should. Obviously, it's got to be the striptease. It has to.
Oh.
That's the greatest scene, because it's so uncomfortable. But she actually looks really beautiful. I'm like, well, it's uncomfortable just because of the situation. But I mean, I see how someone could get behind that. Okay, yeah.
Get behind it.
Well, like get with it. And that's what. Oh God.
What do you mean? Say it.
I just mean I could see how someone could be like, oh, okay, I can get down with this. She looks good. She looks good. She looks. Yeah, she's not. Let's be real. She is not an ugly woman. So what? No, what I'm saying, John.
All right. Fair enough. Jeff Mohr. Your final thoughts, your score, favorite scene.
Well, nobody took my scenes, and I'm somewhat shocked. Although those were good favorite scenes. I just liked the cast. I just think it's 4 excellent actors, and they played well off each other. And they, in this sort of, there's not a lot of depth to it. It's just kind of a, one of those wacky circumstances kind of things, and people react in offbeat ways that I enjoy just because I'm not looking down the road and knowing exactly where it's going, I guess. I'm going to give this a 3.25, and I'm going to say when Sweetie Pie uses the gun.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. That was going to be one of, that's.
I don't want to say what she does with it because I don't want to give it away. But
yay, Sweetie Pie. For me, I'm going to give it a 3.0 straight out of the gate. I'm just going to do that, and I enjoyed it. For me, this is less a horror film than Tigers Aren't Afraid, but that doesn't mean I can't lump it in there and put it on Shudder. I'd put it on Shudder in a heartbeat. It's a little more wacky than I wanted. I wanted something a little more dark, but what I got was, what they intended, and it was fine. And it was enjoyable. The performances are fantastic. The scenarios are often hilarious, if maybe pushing the boundaries of common sense a little bit, but whatever. Yeah, I love the way they interacted. The part when they're at the table, which is a big part of the trailers, and having that conversation after they get caught in the house.
Actually, that was actually one of my favorite scenes, really, because it's very smart the way it's all played out. You know?
Yeah, because our guy, right? He's kind of numbnuts, right? He's kind of dense, Mickey. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, as they would say, but he can talk. He can do the charisma thing, and he does it there to a certain degree. And then he also does it with Gloria later when he realizes the situation is and he can talk himself out of it. So he has a talent, right? But it's not necessarily intelligence itself. So I don't know. I found them compelling. I found like in a way there was a parallel between our couples that it kind of.
I think that was the point. That's how it ended up too. I mean, the ending.
Mm-hmm.
It was based. Yeah, you see,
that Mickey's and George and Gloria are like the forecasting of what Mickey and Jules could be, right?
Well, or the fact that both the
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my favorite scene kind of gets on the so Gloria she does have a mental disorder. And this is one of the elements that the film could have taken a very dark turn. It's not the only one, but it's one. She was unable to take a child full term and lost many children, but one in particular, right? One that was actually born, but stillborn. Did I get that right? Regardless, she ended up basically thinking she had a child, and it's a porcelain doll. And that could have been really creepy if it was something.
But see, she's not creepy enough because she knew it wasn't real. Because she explained the story of how she got it, remember?
And that needed to be a little darker too, right?
Yeah, I almost wish they had never done that, because it would have been weirder for you to just think that she thought that because she's crazy.
Yeah, if they just had it there and we came up with the story, right? It would have been better. But so my favorite scenes related to that. Jules realizes the importance of the doll, and she had gotten out, but Mickey got caught right as he's going out the door by George and Gloria. So Mickey's playing all his cards, and Jules comes in to save Mickey, which he didn't, right? And she's got the doll, and she's going to drop the doll off the stairs, and she's using the doll as leverage. Things happen, and the doll falls, and the inevitable happens. But what I love is how oddly tense that portion of the film is, because it has. We're talking about a flipping porcelain doll, right? It's not like a real baby hanging. But we know the importance. We know why Gloria is all upset, and we know that it isn't going to help Jules at all, and Mickey's already screwed. So now both of them are screwed. It's the whole. There's so much going on with that simple little scene. I was really into what was happening there.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, there you go. That's our review for Villains, which is out in theaters and will be on video demand shortly. It played here locally.
Oh,
at the Alamo Drafthouse. I wish I had had the opportunity to see it there. That would have been fun.
Be fun, yeah.
So those are the movies that we reviewed tonight. Tigers Are Not Afraid, playing on Shudder, and Villains, out in theaters now or on VOD shortly. We hope you enjoyed our reviews, and we hope you get a chance to see them. We'd love to hear what you think. You can send us your feedback to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or you can go to our Gruesome Magazine Horror News Radio Facebook group, or you can go to gruesomemagazine.com and leave a comment on the blog post. Yes, that's what you can do. Either way you do it. We want to hear from you, so please let us know what you think.
Yes.
And look for another pair coming very soon. Oh, man, Dave, Jeff, Crystal, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
All right, with that, let's say goodnight.
Night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.